Let's talk about another joke, one that some don't find quite so funny. New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand is at the center of some buzz in the nation's capital. In her new book, she accuses some of her male colleagues of engaging in boorish and inappropriate behavior, commenting on her weight, body type, and exercise habits. In her book, she recalls one instance during which a Southern congressman held her arm while walking her into the House chamber, saying, "You know, Kirsten, you're even pretty when you're fat." And she said another example, one she considered to be the worst, happened soon after that. It was after she had a baby and had lost 50 pounds. Gillibrand writes about an older senator approaching her from behind, squeezing her waist and saying, "Don't lose too much weight now. I like my girls chubby." The story has prompted some observations from several female journalists. NBC's Andrea Mitchell spent time covering Congress in the 80s and 90s. She said they all have their stories of whom they'd avoid getting into an elevator with or whom they'd protect young female interns from. And CNN's Dana Bash says she's experienced it personally, in fact, not too long ago.
I mean, I haven't had comments like that, but after I had my son 3 years ago, I got some comments that would just maybe blow you away from male senators, maybe not realizing that they were saying inappropriate things, but talking about, you know, getting my figure back and things like that.
Wow, and you're like, thanks, personal,
yeah, thanks.
step away.
Now, Kirsten Gillibrand is an elected official making these claims about other elected officials. She has her reasons for not naming names. What are they?
Well, I think basically she has to work with these senators. Mm-hmm. I mean, she has been on the forefront of a lot of legislation, pretty important legislation in terms of having to deal with women and women's issues. One of them is the sexual assault in the military. She spearheaded that. Now she's working with the sexual assault on college campuses. She's spearheading possible legislation in that area. So she's got to work with these senators to try to get that legislation passed. To go out and name names now may endanger that legislation, and that is going to create a bigger platform for her, and also deal with some pretty important issues.
Yeah, I mean, Dana Bash and the other women journalists face the same kinds of situations. I mean, they're trying to have a career and uncover stories, and they've got to have sources, really good sources, to be able to get some of those stories or perspectives from government leaders. And you know what would happen if they call these folks out by name? They're going to lose some valuable sources. They're going to have a harder time doing their job. So, you know, I understand how we would all like to know who these people are, and probably the public would benefit from knowing who these male senators are who are doing this kind of thing. But I don't think we're asking male journalists to do the same kind of, you know, to decide I'm going to be this or that rather than to be both. And frankly, most of the people who are calling for naming of names, I notice in all the posts and columns, are guys.
The other thing is that, and I read this in an article yesterday about this, is that a lot of the senators, I think some of the senators she's talking about are from the old guard. Mm-hmm. And many of them, if they haven't already announced that they're retiring, will probably be announcing that they're going to retire pretty soon. The younger males within the Senate aren't the ones who are doing this. And also you have to take into account that we have more women senators now than we've ever had and that number is going to go up.
Now, Dana Bash, though, is a journalist who's going on the air and saying this. Is there a different level of expectation there?
Well, she was reacting to a deliberate choice by Gillibrand in her book tour to talk about it. So I think it was kind of off the cuff, and I don't know that she has any particular, you know, requirement that she tell more than she did. I'm not even sure I don't think the senator does either. I mean, it'd be nice if perhaps she were willing to do that, but in her circumstance, as Ernest, I think, laid out very well, she's not going to, and you wouldn't expect her to.
Okay.
I will say one other thing about this, by the way, just before we go to the next topic. This kind of thing happens a little closer to home, too. I mean, I can remember a time only a few years ago when we had a state senator in Missouri, in Jefferson City, who had the same kind of reputation, and we warned female student journalists going down there to watch out for this guy. And, you know, nobody ever wrote any stories about it, but this kind of thing is pretty prevalent in government at all levels.
I think it's not only something prevalent in government. I think it's something that's prevalent in business. It's something that's prevalent in sports journalism, with women as well, having experienced it personally.
Yeah.
So government is just one sector.